Tonight, Saturday's Night Thunder will take you back in time. We're here at the 2008 scan of the Charlotte Motor Speedway with 140 laps on the table. It's our largest and of course, longest intermediate event of the season, and the mile-and-a-half circuit will come alive for our throwback paint scheme night. Welcome to the Enchanted Oaks 210. You're watching SNT on FTN. We've returned to Concord, North Carolina, the very first of the 1.5-mile circuits we call today the Cookie Cutters. This is the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it's great to be back live on this Saturday night. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. Currently, 33 drivers have registered for tonight's session, our largest mile-and-a-half field of the season. James Thurston has been on a dominant streak. He has won in 4 consecutive starts. His worst finish on the season is a second-place finish, and he leads the championship standings over rookie Cameron Chandler. As it stands, drivers are taking their times. There's Mike Hill in number 27. Right now, Mike taking it down and into pit road, while Jackson Van Pelt sits on the provisional pole position. Chase Schaefer taking to the track for his first SNT start of the year. Jackson Van Pelt on the way, as is Braden Hunsicker. Jordan Kuntz right now just getting on the track, qualifying, coming to a head. Currently 2 minutes and 20 seconds left for drivers to take their fast times. Top time is going to be held by Jackson Van Pelt. His lap speed coming in at 175.315 miles an hour. He's a tenth of a mile an hour ahead of the rest of the field. Brandon Dugan making his first ever Saturday Night Thunder start. He's currently in 12th. Alex Anderson and River Page also joining the field. Some notables, as it looks like some contact there for the 99. Kuntz has to head down and in. Thurston has been so dominant, but he'll be starting tonight only from the 4th position. Chase Schaefer, 15th after his qualifying run, and Chris Tripp in the number 90 has to head down a pit road. It looks like trouble for Tripp, not quick enough to get up in front of the field. Now Jordan Kuntz looks to be one of the only drivers on the track, and Jordan looking for a competitive time. The Kuntz car currently on the move with 1 minute and 19 seconds left on track here. Most drivers have backed it down and in. Matthew Weeks has also returned to number 11, the former champion, missing a few races before our week off. Looks like he's back with us. Cody and Brody Webster have taken their times. They're 23rd and 24th respectively, as now Jordan comes around for his hot lap. Sitting 0.2 of a second quicker than his average time in practice. It looks like right now Kuntz coming through cleanly. His fastest time in practice was a 29.993, so a little bit slower than the fastest time set by the field overall. Jordan still with some time to improve as he comes across the stripe. The Kuntz machine makes it through at a turn 4, 29.928. That lap time will be good for 4th place as he shoots up to the second row on the starting grid, 72 thousandths off of the front row. Matthew Weeks also on the way. It looks like he's putting down a solid lap time, his quickest overall. And at the line for Matthew Weeks, 29.875 is good for a dead heat, tied for second place. Braden Hunsicker will not step aside. Weeks just slightly slower. He'll start 3rd, knocking Kuntz off the second row. Matthew White, now the only other driver on the way. Matthew gets things moving, but there's too little time in this qualifying session for his lap to stand. Top of the board, Jackson Van Pelt with a 29.857. He'll grab the pole position, and so the field now will head to its 5-minute warm-up session. Drivers getting prepared for their one and only final practice session of the day. We're going to see many drivers come on, maybe trying to make some last-minute adjustments, but usually while they do that, we see the top drivers lay back and wait these final few minutes out as they prepare for the big show. And we've got quite a few drivers to introduce tonight, some familiar faces making their first starts of the year, and of course the veterans chasing that title. Inside of row number 1 is a driver still looking for his first career win. That is Jackson Van Van Pelt. Jackson grabs the pole position with a lap speed of 175.3 miles an hour. He has himself pole over Braden Hunsicker in second, and then Matthew Weeks is in position number 3. Aiden Donahue, the number 82 in his first ever race, will start in the 4th position, and then you'll have the two-time champ Jordan Kuntz sitting P5, and Vinny Tigner, defending champion, sitting in 6th. James Thurston, off the back of 4 consecutive race victories, will start P7 on the day. Gino Marrow will begin 8th, and Cameron Chandler, the rookie, second in the championship bout. He'll find himself P9 as River Page makes his first start in this series in 2025. The 64 will start in 10th, while 11th place goes to Henry Cowell. Landon Benson then from there will be P12. Carter Casey will be P13. Alex Anderson is going to be 14th as Elijah Hoy is 15th place. Going to be Matt Grab in 16th, the last driver to win in a mile and a half in this league. Brendan Dugan and Chase Schaefer are row 9, and to finish off the top 20, Cole Wilson and Kenneth Garrell. 21st place on the ladder, just behind those two, going to be Chris Tripp, and the 16th then of Joe Miller is going to be in 22. Miller, then the 23 of Seth Morrison in 23rd. Alexander Valderas starts 24th, and 25th goes to Cody Webster. Brody Webster 26th. Ryan Nowicki 27th, with Mike Hill then in 28th. We'll have then the 30th position on the order. That is going to be, well, Matthew White. And with that, Matthew's going to be P29. It'll be McKinney, the number 09 of Jamie McKinney. Then 30th on the order, the final few drivers going as follows. You'll have Michael Deitch in 31st. Then from there, you're going to have 32nd James Bowden. And of course, the number 77, that is Tyler Sevier, the only driver on the 17th and final row of the grid. That rounds out your starting grid for tonight's event. It's a packed house with many talented drivers, but overall, the pole position, it's a no-doubt man. That is the 07 Jackson Van Pelt at the top of the board for tonight's festivities. Still a few drivers taking times here, but the warm-up session hasn't produced many laps. Cameron Chandler is on the way. Looks like right now the 82 is up to second after his most recent run. Braden Hunsicker at the top of the board. Braden has proven fast once again in this practice session. He's had a lot of speed in qualifying in practice, but the races haven't yet gone his way. Well, tonight he's looking for what could be his first win as well. The front row comprised of 2 drivers who both have not gotten a career win to this point. Van Pelt has proven past, of course, races. He's been fast at the mile and a halves. He broke onto the scene in the Season 5 Truck Series race in Atlanta. Ever since that point, mile and a half races, he's gotten very close. Last time we went racing in Atlanta, it was that shock win from Mac Grab that surprised the field, but Van Pelt was right in the thick of it until the final 2 laps. That green-white checkered finish saw Mac bursting out with new tire to take the checkered flag overall. Matthew Weeks is going to be third. Matthew coming off the back of nearly a month vacation. He's not on the track right now, but he's another driver to look out for, given the fact, of course, former champion, and he needs to make some points up big if he'd like to lock into the championship race and the top 10 for the playoffs. 21 seconds on the clock. The 88 of Cameron Chandler still rolling. He heads down to pit road. Ryan Nowicki on pit road as it stands. Same goes for drivers like Kaloff. Now Chandler's there too. Landon Benson and a few others just make it across the line. Brendan Dugan is now going in a pack. Dugan in that number 55 making his first start in SNT competition. He's alongside the Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport team, including the likes of Thurston, Page, and Balderas. They're a big team tonight, looking for a big performance. Looking atop the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway tonight, it might look a little bit different than what you see on the TV. For that reason, of course, we're going back in time. This is the 2008 scan of the track, which was recorded by iRacing more than 16 years ago. Yellow walls, an older track surface, and As you can see, the grandstands filled as ever. That's what makes up this track tonight. It looks different, but for the most part, it is the exact same package. One thing drivers have to worry about, of course, is the fact that tires will wear quicker tonight than what we've seen at the modern track. That's something that comes as a given. This was before the repavement work done at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, much like Daytona, work done in the 2010s, going to make it a little bit more challenging to hold on for a long run. You can be fast on the short term, but in 25-30 laps time, we're expecting drivers to get worn out very quick, even if they're pushing to their fullest or if they're conserving rubber. Jackson Van Pelt in the 07 grabbing the pole position. Braden Hunsaker due to be right alongside him here. Championship race has passed the halfway point when it comes to locking into the playoffs. The schedule winding down from here. Next up on the calendar, it's going to be race to the Lucas Oil Raceway Park. Then you have the Nashville SuperSpeedway and the Richmond Raceway. In that order, we're going to have ourselves only 3 more regular season events after this, which means that for the drivers who haven't already locked their way in, they're going to be in trouble here. You got to make big moves. We've already had ourselves a total of 6 points-paying events, and now, with time to spare, a victory tonight would be major for someone like Van Pelt who doesn't have a win, or someone like Jordan Kuntz or Vinny Tigner, 2 former champions who are looking for a standout performance tonight. Of course, the 2 of them not able to get to the victory lane just yet in 2025, just based on that dominance from Thurston, who's been able to break away. Thurston, Matt Grab, and Jacob Wilkerson, the only SNT winners so far this year. Could change tonight as we get going for our one and only pace lap. Looking higher from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway once again, track conditions are in the driver's favor. Ambient temperature of 80 degrees Fahrenheit and a track temp coming in at 81 degrees. Relative humidity is going to be only 12% and winds are going to be northeastbound at 1 mile an hour. Partly cloudy skies overall here in Charlotte once again. We've seen it many times before. Conditions always going to be helping the driver here. Sunny skies and mild temperatures. Expect the track temps, of course, to warm up by some 5-6 degrees as the night goes on, but with the length of this race, 210 miles, we might see that day-to-night transition before the job is done. Pit Stop TV in the chat room, thank you for stopping by. An exciting announcement to make at the tail end of tonight's broadcast as Pit Stop TV and FTN Broadcasting coming together for a long-term deal that's going to make these exciting broadcasts that much better. With that being said, Jackson Van Pelt's got the inside row, and he has the pole position. For the Charlotte Motor Speedway, it's about time we get things going for our 140-lap feature. Van Pelt grabs a gear, gets things rolling at race pace. We're underway from the legacy Charlotte Motor Speedway. Van Pelt leads us into turns 1 and 2. Welcome back to 2008. Jackson Van Pelt is all alone, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing. He's 0.8 of a second up on the rest of the field. Maybe he's not trying to save any tire, but for the time being, it looks like everyone else behind him has decided to play the more conservative route and letting the race come to them. Jackson jumped off the line to begin with, but he gained nearly a full second on that first lap. That's a big problem, of course, if he expects to hold on with tires conserved. That lead is almost impossible to hang on to. So to open things up, a significant change at the front of the field, of course, for your race leader. Everyone else running in that very same bundle. Looks like now James Thurston heading up high and looking to make some positions up. There goes the number 96, making his moves and bringing back his throwback paint scheme. As we mentioned, everyone in the field tonight racing not only for the prize pool of $60 based on podium positions, but also for $5 to win that most valuable paint scheme award. The best paint scheme at the end of the night voted upon by the field, and that driver will be awarded an additional $5, whoever it may be. Currently at the front of the field, of course, it's the 07 of Jackson Van Pelt, and let's start from the start. The 07 of Van Pelt tonight running that Hooters 07, that Ford Mustang coming in for the first time this season. While Hooters in real life prepares for bankruptcy, this paint scheme throws it back more than 30 years ago to the success of Alan Kulwicki, and particularly, you see the front end of that car. This is his paint scheme from his championship winning night in the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the 1992 Hooters 500, the championship event at which Kulwicki won his one and only NASCAR Cup Series title. Five-time race winner before his tragic passing in 1993, Kulwicki proved to be the final independent owner-driver to win the NASCAR Cup Series championship. He did so in 92, amassing 5 wins, as we mentioned, over his career. He was the first ever driver to win at the Phoenix Motor Speedway as well. Tonight, Kulwicki's paint scheme once again honored, and I'd be shocked if we don't see a Polish victory lap out of the 07 tonight. We've seen many other drivers do it before, but how fitting would it be if the 07 was the driver to get the job done and win it tonight? Second place, Aiden Donahue is running what we know as the Rainbow Warrior. The number 82 tonight throws it back to Jeff Gordon, who debuted in the 1992 Hooters 500. That was his very first ever race for Rick Hendrick Motorsports, and he came in with the very same paint scheme you're seeing on that number 82. Of course, amassing 3 championships with this look in the 1990s, Jeff Gordon proved dominant over his Cup Series career, amassing more than 80 victories to end up third in the all-time wins list, and the Charlotte Motor Speedway, he knew it well. Although I don't think his most iconic moments here came in his very early years, Gordon proved dominant on track, and Donahue right now opening up strong. It's his first ever race in this league, and he's holding fort with the rest of the competitors. James Thurston's bringing back his number 96, and Thurston, of course, we've seen this paint scheme before. L.W. Wright, one-time NASCAR Cup Series starter in the summer of 1982 at the Talladega SuperSpeedway. The issue was L.W. Wright was not a credited driver in any form of stock car racing, and he is known affectionately as NASCAR's D.B. Cooper. The story came to its, of course, fortunate end, but with an unfortunate twist. L.W. Wright, while discovered in the early 2020s and 2022 to be a man known as Larry Wright, by the time we found out who it was, he was already at the end of his life. Larry Wright passed away 2 years ago, and that leaves many holes in the story that we understand, but NASCAR's greatest con artist got on track, and it took us more than 40 years to figure out who exactly it was. Tonight, Thurston brings that mysterious tribute back to life. He currently runs third, as right behind him is Gino Marrow. Marrow tonight's running that golden Miller Lite machine. Kurt Busch, 2006 contact at this very circuit with his brother. Kyle and Kurt Busch said that after that incident, they didn't speak to each other until Thanksgiving that year, from May to November. This was during the middle of a tumultuous period for Kurt Busch. It was his first ever DUI in 2005, and then from that point, he rode out the rest of his tenure with Penske Racing, rather under-delivering. He came back to his prime, winning the 2017 Daytona 500 and amassing a few other wins before a major concussion in the summer of 2022 at the Pocono Raceway. That was his final ever attempt. He hasn't come back to the racetrack since, but this 71 goes back to very early years of his career. Kurt Busch, known as one of the more fast, aggressive drivers during the mid-2000s, currently running strong as well as Gino Marrow. Cameron Chandler making a move on the high side, that number 88, and this one takes it back more than 25 years. Many a driver got the chance to drive that Cartoon Network paint scheme. Familiar incidents? Well, we have to take our way all the way back to the super speedways of Daytona and Talladega. Tonight, Cameron Chandler has taken his number 88 to P5, and this rookie is running strong. Cartoon Network had many iterations when it comes to their tenure in NASCAR Cup Series racing, so this one in particular, representative of the number 29, which saw its racing through the late 1990s, driver at the helm, most notable of which happen to be, as we take a look at it right now, this paint scheme actually doesn't have that great of a nameplate. Robert Presley. That's a name you might recognize from the Xfinity or truck level of action, but Presley got his chance in number 88 for a few times, and you might notice that that very small name rail is replicated once again. This time around, it's got Cameron's name on it. A little bit further back, there's the Jasper number 12, Dave Blaney among others, run by Vinnie Tigner. Dave Blaney, his son went on to be a NASCAR Cup Series champion, but his best ever finish came with the 2003 South Carolina Dodge Dealers 400. That race was won by Ricky Craven in a photo finish with Kurt Busch. Blaney was the fastest driver in the final 50 laps. If there were 2 more laps in that race, Blaney would have won it outright, but the Jasper machine, well known of course for Blaney and many other drivers. Also, their collaboration with what is now iRacing in NASCAR Racing 2003 season. If you played that game before, Jasper provided custom-tuned setups for every car and every track in the base game, and fitting their back again here in iRacing with that number 12. Braden Hunsiger's freaky fast 00 could be throwbacking to many drivers. The 00, of course, made prominent by Cole Custer, but if you think Jimmy Johns, one driver comes to mind, and it's not Jimmy Johnson, it's Kevin Harvick. Harvick, in the late stage of his career, came alive with Stewart-Haas Racing, switching over after 2013 with a long-tenured stint at Richard Childress Racing, replacing Dale Earnhardt. He came over to the number 4 in the Cup Series, and he came alive, amassing double-digit wins across that final decade, including 9 wins in the pandemic-shortened 2020 season. Kevin Harvick proved to be at his prime even toward his final years. 2 wins in 2022. They came back-to-back. His final race was a victory at Richmond. Ever since that point, of course, he stepped into the broadcast booth with NASCAR on Fox. But the freaky fast 00 runs 6th place right now. Matthew Weeks, no throwback. Same goes for River Page. He's blacked out. Narrow has fallen back, as you might have noticed. Gino is now 9th place, whereas Jordan Kuntz runs in his traditional number 99. Henry Kaloff is a paint scheme, well, it looks like tonight, a little bit different from beforehand, but most often he goes back to local tributes. In this instance, it looks like that is a little bit of a difference from what we've seen. Most often, he brings out the white and red number 63, a throwback to his late uncle. But tonight, you might notice that number 63 is not the paint scheme we've come to know beforehand. That number 63, red, white, and blue, correct us if we're wrong here, that is the AMC Matador paint scheme run by Penske Racing, among others, not only in NASCAR Cup Series action, but also seen throughout its sportsman action, the AMC Javelin, that was when Jim Pascal drove the car in the early 1970s, and of course, other forms of American motorsport. The AMC Trans Am legacy, of course, lives on, and this AMC paint scheme a little different from the exact replica we've seen on other drivers, but tonight, red, white, and blue for Kaloff, and bringing back a obscure but well-known paint scheme in the NASCAR circuit. Carter Casey's number 8, this one's pretty well known. Bobby Labonte, early 2000s, the 2000 Cup Series champion, of course, and he's got himself right now running P12. Interstate Batteries has been with Joe Gibbs Racing for now more than 32 years, and this is one of those early paint schemes from the first decade of their partnership. Currently, Carter Casey running strong as he tends to do with these intermediates. Qualifying, he usually is a little bit stronger, only qualifying 13th today, whereas in most cases, honestly, Carter Casey exceeds that expectation. He finds himself often in the top 5 or the top 10. But tonight, he's coming from a little bit further back and looking to make his way up front. Chase Schaefer, Matt Grab here, the number 41 of Schaefer. It's his first start in that number. You'll notice the PSISM guys all got their numbers reclaimed, and they're driving in different numbers tonight. Schaefer from the 99 to the 41. Page goes from the 24 to the 64. Anderson goes from the 67 to the 66. And Brendan Dugan is officially the 28, although his car says 55 on its side. See right now the PSISM guys, the only guy who reclaimed his number, Alexander Balderas, is running in his own self-throwback. This one, a throwback to his victory Season 5 in Atlanta for the IORA Cup Series, or Season 4 at Auto Club in that league as well. Multi-time winner in the IORA Cup Series, Balderas is coming back again. He's a part-time competitor here. We've seen him at least once this season since the end of 2023. Cody Webster in the number 81. Now this is a throwback we got to talk about. First and foremost, we have two Websters on the racetrack. We got Cody Webster and we have Brody Webster. Wonderful to see that both of them have made their way on the circuit tonight. And family ties once again all throughout the pack. Cody Webster right now, this All-Pro number 81, running a little bit higher than where he started. Currently 19th from 25th. And this one, a rather obscure paint scheme. If you recall the yellow and recall that DEI namesake, you might be thinking of one driver first and foremost, and in this case, it's not the driver we are thinking of. It's not, in fact, a throwback to Michael Waltrip, although All-Pro previously sponsored him throughout the late 1980s. If you take a very close look at that car, and if you take a look at the name rail, that's not, in fact, what this paint scheme is going for. We'll tell you a little bit more about Cody Webster's paint scheme after first we take a ride on board with the number 81. Drivers, telemetry will show you these drivers are getting significantly slower compared to their hot laps. That time by, Cody Webster ran a 31.963, so yes, very much slower than the 29-second laps set in qualifying. While Michael Waltrip was sponsored by the All-Pro crew in 1987, you have to think back to 1986 for L.D. Ottinger. That's where this paint scheme goes back to, so a very niche paint scheme. And of course, throwing this one back into the mix, wonderful for Cody Webster, and love to see it out on the track right now. Cody on the way. You also have to acknowledge there is Kenneth Gurrell. Kenneth tonight running in a throwback to Kenny Wallace, and how fitting. Kenny right now on that number 57 is exactly where he started, qualifying position-wise. You know, Wallace is still driving. He's some 65 years old, and he's still tearing up the dirt scene to this day. He was a former driver of the NASCAR Cup Series. One of his best ever finishes came in Dale Earnhardt's final Cup Series race. He almost had a chance to win that one, but Earnhardt in those final 20 laps, he went from 18th up to the victory and stormed through the field for what was his 76th and final Cup Series checkered flag. That was the fall of 2000. Kenny Wallace, though, still racing, and I'll tell you this much, he's had quite a few successes in the 2020s. That Cup Series paint scheme going back to the early 2000s, as right behind is now Jamie McKinney. McKinney tonight in the 09, making his first start of the season. Looks like no throwback there. Landon Benson in his usual 09. Same goes for Joseph Miller, and the 74 right there of Ryan Nowicki. But Chris Tripp is throwing it back to the Dyguard days for Darrell Waltrip. We have of course, multiple Waltrip paint schemes in this event, and this is the first one we're going to mention here. Darrell Waltrip, he got his first ever championship runs with the Dyguard crew when he drove the number 88 Gatorade machine. He was second in the championship in 1979, and then went on a tear for the next coming years, and was one of the strongest drivers. He ended up a three-time Cup Series champion and fought to be top 5 in the all-time wins list against his rival in Bobby Allison, and many a driver during that time. His last Cup Series start was in 2001, driving the Kmart number 66, but he spent quite a lot of time for Dyguard as a championship competitor. Started it off in the 1970s, where Chris Tripp got this paint scheme. Number 2, Matthew White, a loose throwback to Jeff Gordon. DuPont on that number 2. Right now, 29th to 26, so making some moves up as Michael Deitch goes for the cubed graphics paint scheme. A throwback to Casey Kane and great clips. The number 5 Cup Series car he drove for Hendrick Motorsports. One man down a pit road, and it looks like multiple great Hunsicker goes down and in, as does former race leader Jackson Van Pelt. It looks like then Matthew White comes through, and so does Kenneth Garrell. So some drivers making their way in. The Winn-Dixie number 23, a throwback to Mark Martin and his racing in the Busch Series. So that's going to be the mid-1990s as he drove the number 60 for Roush Fenway Racing. Nice throwback there for Seth Morrison. Right now, coming up on Brody Webster. Webster's deciding to drop down and in. He's going to be another going for a green flag pit stop, as do the majority of the field here. Joseph Miller, there's Jamie McKinney, Mike Hill on the way, and perfect timing as we catch up to Mike Hill, perhaps the man of the hour here on FTN. We'd like to thank Mike Hill, the Hill family, and the Enchanted Oaks RV Park for making everything possible for tonight's event. You'll see it on your screen right now, but we'd like to tell you about our friends at Enchanted Oaks. The Enchanted Oaks RV Park is located on the Texas State Highway 35 bypass in Rockport, Texas, just 20 minutes north of Corpus Christi. This 60-acre campground is adjacent to a nature preserve, and it includes a lovely walking trail for residents to enjoy. Indulge in the local shopping and dining experience of Rockport's Heritage District, and with a local boat launch only minutes away, you can enjoy some of Texas's most beautiful beaches, plenty of fishing in your own boat, or you can catch a ride with one of Coastal Bend's fishing, bird watching, or dolphin excursions. With 52 spacious sites, each roomy space in its natural setting offers 30-50 amp service, Wi-Fi, water, and septic hookups. All of our sites have 40 concrete pads, and of course, they have a recreation hall with full bathrooms and laundry facilities. So contact information on your screen right now. Once again, major shout out to Enchanted Oaks RV Park for helping us out and putting together our prize pool for tonight's race. Only unfortunate that Mike Hill's not doing all too well. He's one lap down and in 33rd as it stands. Every driver who registered has made a start. Currently, Mike happens to find himself at the tail end of the field here. It just doesn't look like everything's gone too well, respecting keeping it up. Jordan Kuntz goes down to pit road here, as does Matthew Weeks. It looks like now the fight for the race lead, it is on pit road. Service is going to become critical tonight as we go for our first pit stops of the day, some 30-40 laps in. If we remain green, expect a 3 to 4 stint cycle on the day in total. Now it looks like Kuntz will beat out Weeks, but overall it'll be James Thurston to the point, and according to our stint data, Thurston has nothing to worry about. The number 96 is your race leader again. And by virtue of great timing, Thurston now could be en route for his 5th consecutive win. But it's very early, 36 laps in out of 140. We still have some 100 plus laps from here. So it'll be Thurston Hunsicker, Jackson Van Pelt, the 1-2-3 combination. Cameron Chandler keeping this battle quite tight in the Robert Presley throwback. And of course, Jackson Van Pelt in the 0-7 here. The two of which find themselves to right alongside one another as Cameron now gets to move down to the bottom. And with the best seat in the house, Aiden Donahue, the rookie in the 82. Donahue currently within a second and a half of your race leader. We see that the pit stop counts for everyone are practically identical. Everyone's gone in for one pit stop so far, but notice now the pit stint time. Less is better when it comes to a competitive drive here, and in Donahue's case, he has the least wear on his tires of anyone on track in the top 5. 4 laps, even compared to your leader in Thurston. He's got a lap on the number 96, and that lap could pay off in dividends as the night goes on. This is something that seems small for the time being, but a driver like Thurston, of course, He knows that every lap means that much more when you stretch it out. For 35 or 40 lap runs, you can't afford for that extra lap or two to, of course, tear you down. Now in the top 10, no run has gone longer than 8 laps. It looks like Jackson Van Pelt with the disadvantage of having a long run. Longer runs will prove disadvantageous, especially with the situation we have here, which is long green flag running, where younger is better. The only way to detract from that phenomenon is if, of course, everyone else wears out their tire more than you, or if you're very careful. For Cameron Chandler here, he's starting to face the issue, but Braden Hunsticker's also got himself that old set. 9 laps on the stint so far, 2 or 3 laps older than those around him. That could prove detrimental here, because watch, there's Aiden Donahue, the rookie in that number 82, making big moves and decisions all of a sudden, as he now finds himself under Chandler and with a real shot to make it up to P2 here. Donahue close to the grass. Luckily, everything works out there. He'll take it down, and he's smooth sailing into the opening corner. Now, that tire advantage, we're going to talk about it, of course, not only in terms of numbers, but in terms of what it does on the racetrack here. For the first 15 laps, no matter how hard you push it, and you can push it real hard at this circuit, you can basically find yourself stuck to the track. Basically full throttle depending on the package. The trucks at this circuit anyway, you can go full throttle for the first 15-20 laps of a stint. But after that point, you have to start letting off. And the more you let off, the more your tires have worn, and vice versa. So the more time you lose off the throttle, the slower your lap times become. When you wear those tires out, you don't have the grip, you skate up to the top of the circuit, you have to back off. And just like that, Aiden Donahue's made our point very clear. He's now leading, all the while James Thurston takes it back to second. And thus immediately begins the second question. Is Thurston already restraining himself, waiting, biding his time for another opportunity? Perhaps that's exactly what we're seeing here. Cameron Chandler, he's got himself an opportunity to get to P2, maybe if he goes a little bit harder on it. He's got young tire, as does Donahue. Looks like now he could get up to 96. But aggression might play in a short-term benefit, but I don't see any long-term gains in chasing after spots so early. Now we are just under 100 laps to go, but that doesn't mean in the slightest the strategy game is solved. In fact, it's really only just the beginning. Biggest mover in your top 10 so far is 18th to 7th. That's Chase Schaefer in the Monster Designs Ford Mustang. Schaefer got, of course, his very first start of the season last Thursday night in the IORA Cup Series. Unfortunately for his case, it wasn't all too great. He ended up finishing outside the top 35 by virtue of showing up 85 laps late. Really couldn't get the ball rolling for his event. Not the best start, but we know Schaefer is one of the fastest drivers in that series. And these are pretty easy to compare fields, SNT and IORA. We have a lot of the same drivers bouncing back and forth. The skill level just about as high. From the front to the bottom, you'll see very competitive guys and some of the bottom feeders who come in, week out here. So Schaefer getting almost a representative sample here of how he'll perform in the IORA Cup Series. But also, this track being slightly different in terms of profile means maybe it doesn't suit his style as much as it would a Thurston or a River Page. Page for P4. Very quiet night so far for the number 64, having to take it, of course, to the garage and put a new sticker on that side piece of his Toyota Supra. Page has been in the SNT competition ring as a part-time driver for some year and a half now. He got himself a win to open up 2024 at Iowa Speedway. That was the very first race we broadcasted last year. Contact between Van Pelt and Schaefer. They'll shake each other off. To the wall, Van Pelt goes. Caution's out on the track. Little bit of door to door, and it gets bitter. It's your first caution of the night, 48 laps in out of 140. Here's an instant replay. It'll show you what happened. And it looked like these two were side by side coming out of the final corner, both drivers going up, and Schaefer right there. And Schaefer's contact turned Van Pelt. They met each other at the same time on the groove. Jackson stayed in the throttle, Chase got in the grass, came up. They knocked each other again. That's Jackson right up the circuit, and he makes contact with Brody Webster. Yellow flag, 49 laps in out of 140 here. Everyone else will get away from it. It's a 3-car incident as Dugan moves through. Nevertheless, caution's out. First time tonight, drivers getting themselves collected again. And Jackson Van Pelt moving back up to the front of the field here. Minor damage. Should be able to continue. Everyone's got one faster pair tonight as Aiden Donahue now leads the field down to pit road. Second pit stop on the night with 50 laps on the table so far. Looks like we're going to have ourselves some 90 laps remaining. We realistically still need at least 2 pit stops from here. Pack comes down together. Right now, you see there, Van Pelt takes that faster pair very quick. Coming off of pit road first, Thurston will beat Donahue. Then it's Cameron Chandler, Chase Schaefer, River Page, Braden Hunsicker, and to conclude the top 10, Marrow, Kuntz, and Matthew Weeks there. Mac Grab, P10. James Thurston, your race leader, 50 laps in out of 140. And with that said, we'll get ourselves double file to go racing this time by. No retirees so far on the day, although Brody Webster with trouble. Now 3 laps down after contact. Webster finds himself 33rd and last. Michael Deitch is now 2 laps down and 32nd. 1 lap down and 31st is Mike Hill. Mike will be your lucky dog driver. He'll get back on the lead lap right about now. Got the free pass, and it looks like Michael Deitch will be given one as well. So it looks like now the number 17 gets back on the way, gets back up front. Thurston and Donahue are P1 and 2 once again. Looks like Donahue actually ran the better part of that first and second stint, making his way through, getting that younger set of rubber, and he had the perfect opportunity to keep the lead. But with the caution flying, tables turn. The 96 again has the edge. Field is frozen for the first time. Restart number 1 at lap 52. Chase Schaefer gets up into the top 4. He's 18th to 4th now on the day. That's a total of 14 places gained. 16th to 9th is a Mac Grab. Mac up 7, a one-time race winner this season. He got it done last in Atlanta. Green flag's out for Thurston once again. Here we go. The 96 gets things moving. Outside groove, a little bit slower to hit the trigger. And so now Cameron Chandler side by side with Donahue. Schaefer and Chandler there, very close to some contact that could have been race ending. Luckily, again, both of which will back down. Chandler now has a chance to take P2. Not the best of starts for Aiden Donahue, but that's his first ever restart in this league, and it looks like even still, he'll pull back into the catbird seat. Donahue has a lot to learn with tonight, of course. He's done pretty well so far staying up in front, but these twists will keep getting thrown at him. For lack of a better term, he might not expect it, but he's going to have to get used to it. Number 82 here, now about a 10th and a half off from James Thurston. Thurston once again gets the lead. Let's see how hard he pushes on this stint. The expectation might be to get some green flag running in. Of course, as we did beforehand, hopefully the leaders don't self-implode, as we saw prior. Now Schaefer goes to the inside, and it looks like Chase now wants a chance to go and fight the PSISM team leader. Power smash with first place, and now it looks like Alexander Balderas joining the top 10, up 14 on the day. The Houston, Texas native up inside of the top 10 for the first time. Balderas in the 95 runs P10. His teammate in River Page runs P5. Schaefer runs in third, and it looks like now he just got up to second, and he's looking for the lead. Chase Schaefer bottoms up as he literally slides right back up top the circuit, gives James Thurston the optimal groove into turns 3 and 4. It's a nice dive for the Monster Designs machine, but it doesn't look like it's going to hang on for this lap unless he gets a nice drive through the final corner. Schaefer stays up there. Thurston, not so much, and it looks like just barely Chase had the edge there. Now will Thurston decide to let off just a little bit? Give Chase Schaefer a shot. 2x2 once again. Third place now going to be Donahue. Fourth place is Cameron Chandler. It looks like right now, still a slight advantage here for the Chase Schaefer car. 99 is making a real good run of it, but the 96 is still to the point. Lap 57, 18th up the first. Biggest mover on the day, no doubt about it. That is Chase Schaefer. But a very close second is 30th up to 13th in Jamie McKinney. And it looks like Jamie's still making moves. Cole Wilson is going to try to hang on to the 12th spot here, but nothing has come of it so far for Jamie. See if they go side by side once again. Mostly single file in that opening run of some 40 laps. I think that's going to be a trend all night long, consistent with the first half. We're expecting to see it come again for the remaining piece. Donahue ducks low. Chase Schaefer again prompted up high. Thurston here is a really good position to just hang on and coast for the stint. It looks like he has one of the fastest cars, clearly one of the top 3 quickest, if not the overall fastest. So when you're in that sort of position where you know you have speed, it's very unlikely that a driver like Thurston will push himself to wit's end, with the win on the line, of course, so far away. Las Vegas to end 2024 here in SNT. He made quite the detrimental mistake, honestly, as we look back to that final race. With some 15 laps to go, Thurston was chasing the race victory, found himself all the way up to the high side, and tried to skate the top groove. It didn't quite work out, and what happened instead was he got caught up in the outside grooving on the wall and ended up damaging his car significantly. Significant enough where he had to go down a pit road and was saved by a green-white checkered finish in which he did end up winning that race. But for Thurston, he hasn't gone at all up to the high side tonight. Matter of fact, he's kept himself all the way down low. I think he's done so on purpose. Right now, Thurston is still ahead at Cameron Chandler in second, Chase Schaefer third, Aiden Donahue fourth, Braden Hunsicker P5, and River Page sixth. Gino Maurer now making a move to the bottom there, once again very close to running the bottom of the apron, and Gino inserts himself in the picture again. Chase Schaefer falls back to third here. Cameron Chandler going to go after his championship rival, and again this battle continues, something we've seen since Daytona. And it's been, of course, a special privilege to watch these rookies do what they've done so far this season, particularly Hunsicker, Cameron Chandler, a guy like Cole Wilson. Those 3 rookies, and alongside, of course, the veterans, they've made this a very fun championship battle, but focusing on the rookies in particular, it's wonderful to have a crop of drivers who are brand new, who have been fast consistently, race in, race out. Perhaps Aiden Donahue, making himself welcome tonight, could be the next in this catalog of brand new drivers who have speed. So far, the rookies making up the top 10, second, fourth, and fifth. So they're up front, and they're keeping the majority of the top 5 to themselves. Whereas, of course, the veterans have the rest of the top 10. That's where experience comes into play. But quite a few part-time drivers in the mix. Third place, part-timer in Schaefer. Sixth, part-timer in Page. And 10th, part-timer in Alexander Balderas. So you have part-time guys coming in for their first start. You also have those rookies who are there for the very first time. And then you have the experienced drivers who are looking to continue their success. For Jordan Kuntz and Matthew Weeks. We haven't gone this far into a season without either of them winning since 2022. That's how far back you have to look. Both, of course, Kuntz and number 11 of Weeks have been so successful season in, season out. It's a shock now as the 82 of Donahue goes down to the grass that we haven't seen them win. But Donahue faces a big issue out of driver's harm's way. But it looks like now Aiden is going to need a saving grace tonight if he wants to return up in front. The 82 falls back to outside the top 25. Here's a replay. Donahue and Schaefer here, and it looked like they were side by side at the moment of impact. Schaefer got very loose and just by coincidence tagged Donahue and sent him out of line. Horrible luck. Really something you can't prepare for. Just a wiggle, and it sent that 82 packing. Jackson Van Pelt now in the middle of the field. Your pole sitter a little bit further back than he'd like, but either way, it is all James Thurston up at the front of the field. Thurston comes across the line once again, keeping it all his half a second lead, and it looks like over the past few laps, it's expanded ever so slightly. Last 4 laps relative to Cameron Chandler, he's gained 0.2 of a second, so that's an average of gaining about 5/100ths each and every time by. Not an awful lot, but it's going to add up definitively now as he continues to make these moves and add those positions up. Of course, there's no lappers, so track position is everything for this battle. Cameron stays second. River Page getting himself back up into P4 uncontested, and maybe a chance now to give it a fight for third. Chase Schaefer is running just ahead, but it doesn't mean there isn't a shot. Matt Grab runs down to the bottom. Alexander Balderas now toe-to-toe with the number 95, of course. There comes the 53. Still looks like Balderas with the slight edge here, and he's going to keep Mac at bay. We'll see whether or not that 53 can get up here down the back straight. Over this lap anyway, Balderas has maintained himself inside of the top 3. Nice to see, of course, top 3, shall we say, the top 10. In terms of biggest movers, he is top 10 in that category. He's made up a total of 15 places, now tied with Chase Schaefer, and only now behind guys like 30th to 13th in Jamie McKinney. What a drive that's been. 29th to 18th, also Matthew White, making some good moves. Still has a few more to make if he'd like a satisfactory finish for his standards, though. I'm sure he'd like to get himself up at least inside the top 15 before the day is done. In pursuit of 5 consecutive wins, Thurston leads us to halfway. 70 laps remain. Talk about dominance. Thurston tonight has once again proven he is the driver in Saturday Night Thunder competition. Former IORA Cup Series champion, he won the Season 3 title. He was a 2-time winner last year in SNT, but that was it. 2 wins, 1 per season. And this season he has been able to break through all those previous barriers. Matter of fact, he went from, of course, 2-time winner last year to now 4 consecutive wins and a 2nd place finish in his 5 of 6 previous starts. That is a huge difference from what was a solid drive, of course, over the course of his 2024 career to what has become unbelievable. He is the driver at the front of the field, race in, race out, and he's proven it again tonight, even though he started in 7th, one of his weaker qualifying runs. 69 laps to go becomes 68, and it's a nice job by Chase Schaefer as well. Now, Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport, 1st and 3rd on the podium, as River Page keeps Carmen Chandler at bay. It looks like right now Chandler looks low. Here comes the 88. And Cameron now takes it deep. Maybe River Page burning up his stuff here. We'll see whether or not it hangs on. JT and Gwady3369 in the chat room. Both of you, thank you for stopping by. A little bit of support tonight for Mike, be it Mike Hill, most likely. Looks like now he's coming down a pit road. This will be his second stop of the day. Unfortunately, still 2 laps down and caught by the strategy bug. Hill's going to make his way in that Enchanted Oaks, number 27. Rest of the field coming through. Coming back to the start-finish line. 67 laps to go, and overall these stints have run rather long again on green flag timing. 25 laps in. We're expecting up to 35, 36 as we saw last time. So the pit road window will open up once again with about 50 laps to go. That said, I think we're going to see drivers come down to pit road twice from here. With that being said, we're going to see whether or not drivers decide to split the final stint. All up in the air, dependent on cautions and the like. It's not a straightforward strategy right now, but what is straightforward is racing lap after lap and biding one's time. Balderas moves up to 9th as Cole Wilson gets up inside the top 10. Brendan Dugan would like to make his way through now, and this is where the plight of the middle field comes into play. If you're in the mid-pack right now, do you decide to push yourself a little bit harder, try to work yourself over, of course, and make aggressive decisions, aggressive moves, or instead do you decide to maybe lie back and let the strategy come home? I think the issue right now is if you're a driver, you could be indecisive, and I wouldn't blame you. 64 laps to go, there's still time, but pushing for a position now could be the difference between fighting for it later when there's no second chances, or having a second chance after and maybe getting it to begin with. So there's a lot of positive on the line, but there's also that negative of losing a position outright. Jamie McKinney falls back in a 14th here. It looks like Jackson Van Pelt has his way with that 0-9, and now here comes Jamie to pit road, coming in with a sliding Matthew White. The two come together, and it looks like there's no issues in collaboration. Leader Thurston still out on the circuit, and it looks like the rest of the field, for the most part anyway, has decided to keep things the same. We'll watch the pit stop count now. Most drivers have made 2 pit stops. Some are now going in for their 3rd, including Jamie McKinney, of course, who's now actually making it out and back on the way. Majority of drivers have decided to go in for 2 pit stops, 1 under green and, of course, 1 under yellow. Some drivers did it twice under yellow. Otherwise, it looks like right now we're starting to see that slow trickle in as we see drivers making their way back out. That time by, Gino Marrow made it down to the pit road. You'll see Gino right here in number 71, and as he does so, he's the only driver left on pit road as the leaders fly by once again. Here comes Thurston, here comes Schaefer, and River Page. 1, 2, 3, all the IORA Cup Series veterans running up front. A reminder that tonight there is money on the line for your respective top finishers. $30 goes to first place, $20 to second, and $10 on the night to your 3rd place finisher. So these 3 drivers would be looking at a total of $60 combined, and of course, whether or not they win that Best Paint Scheme award could be another addition. Just given the white flag signal, that makes no sense. There's still a lot of time on the racing circuit, but that was from iRacing, and that was not something manually triggered. Looks like just a little bit of a malfunction there. We still got a lot of time to spare, and luckily that's not a yellow flag. You might have seen it at the top of your screen, but server is saying we still have time to go. What we might be seeing is the final lap before driver heads to pit road here. Schaefer a little bit loose, he'll wiggle, but it looks like he's just fine. There's Alex Anderson, and it looks like Anderson now is on its final lap of the stint. Number 66 decides to make it in from P11 here, so giving up a rather solid spot as he comes in for a little bit more work. Alex Anderson made his first start of the IORA Cup Series season on Thursday as well, the original league owner and league founder of IORA, and it looks like right now coming back to racing on a part-time basis to 66. He's getting his feet wet here and doing a pretty good job at that. He's gone from 14th up to where he was in 11th and was running a high of that 11th, 12th combination just as he came down and in. Anderson on the way. Right behind him is Kenneth Gorell on pit road, and Kenneth gets rolling as more drivers begin to come down and in. Matt Grab just made it through. Miller stays out, but the leaders now really have to consider, is this the right time to go in, or do you wait just a little bit longer? And right now, emphasis on making it in for a lot of these guys. High side, there goes Cameron Chandler. But for Chandler, it's going to be 3 wide now. 2 leaders and a lapper. That's the battle for the race lead and a driver making it through. Chase Schaefer not afraid to risk it big. And so now he's going to have himself down to the inside trying to make a pass. Didn't quite work out there, but I'll tell you this much, it got rather close. Thurston with Schaefer. Page, Kuntz, and Balderas have all held out big. Now, side by side, heading into pit road, it looks like Schaefer may be a little quicker on the entry. The fast 4 come together. Alexander Balderas will lead his first lap of the night. All the while, the 96 of Thurston takes the most competitive group of drivers into pit road. The fight for the lead lies in this small grouping. And now with your pit exit camera, we can see exactly which of them make their way out as leader. Balderas is expected to come into pit road, as is Kaloff, Nowicki, and Cody Webster, but you gotta watch out here. Schaefer peels out, and it looks like Thurston just barely gets the edge. Schaefer getting behind again, and then you'll see River Page. They'll be coming back on their way now, and you'll see so many drivers at green flag pace, but Thurston and Schaefer fighting each other side by side. That might have been one of the most important drag races of the night, and it only was 60 miles an hour. So now, you'll see again Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport running with each other. Overall race leader is scored as Henry Kaloff. Kaloff finding himself up in front, but it looks like that is due to change. The 63 will come into pit road. Cody Webster going to follow. And lastly, it looks like now Cameron Chandler, well, you focus on that number 88, and for Cameron, it looks like there is, again, nothing to worry about. He's your net race leader as a result of this pit cycle, and Cameron then has following him the number 23, one of the lappers on the night. Looks like right now, leaders are out of his sight. That is Seth Morrison, 1 lap down as it stands. We have 23 drivers on the lead lap, 1 retiree in Brody Webster. It just looks like a second on that catalog. Landon Benson has disconnected. He is 4 laps down as we speak. Here comes the 63. Kaloff back on the way. "53 laps to go and counting down for drivers. Still 1 more stint to be expected. Pit road window would reopen once again with about 20 laps to go, but 53 laps remaining, 30 lap stint cycle. Do we see drivers come in earlier and try to make things different? Do they split up the strategy on purpose? Is that the right way to go? That's a big question now that every driver has to ask themselves, and I've got to wonder, with so many laps, of course, being run under green, splitting the right way to go at it, is waiting it out, hoping for a yellow flag optimal. A lot of drivers here, of course, with a lot of uncertainty. Chase Schaefer coming up on the high side here with River Page. Those two will battle each other for what could be a net top 5 position. But all the while, it'll be Thurston now and Matthew Weeks going at it. They're going to keep each other in the fight for the net podium here as the number 96 looks low and looks to be just quicker. Talk about a close call. It will be a big incident there for the 96 up in the wall, and a close call no longer. Slamming up high, and Thurston risking everything, and that sometimes is the outcome. Does he have enough in him to get back here? Blocked again, Matthew White. Thurston, 5 wins consecutively is the goal, but it looks like now he might have a roadblock in his plans. He's stuck in traffic big. Take a look back to what just happened here. Thurston, he went through up and down traffic. and it doesn't pay off here. Matter of fact, it comes back to him in a bad way. Here's the replay, and it'll show you just what happened here for the 96 and the 11 of Matthew Weeks running with each other, and then trouble strikes. Thurston places a block on Weeks, sending it up the 0-9 right there, McKinney, and then Thurston ends up in the wall. Yellow flag is out, so we'll stay in this replay here and try to figure out what caused it. Thurston looks to be just fine, but the field will be frozen again. Second yellow flag on the day. Caution is out. Aiden Donahue still catching up. Seth Morrison more of the same. And now drivers putting themselves back together. Yellow flag number 2. That's going to be a big saving grace, of course, for the 96. Setting ourselves back in time, we're going to check out what happened with that incident. Instant replay just before the caution. This is where all the drivers were, perhaps the closest bundle on the circuit. 3 wide. There with Thurston, McKinney, and just like that, McKinney with contact and sending around Matthew Weeks. Multiple drivers involved, one extra angle. We'll show you a little bit more as the 0-9 Jamie McKinney hits Matthew Weeks, sends Matthew slamming up the track. Matthew White involved, Braden, of course, Brennan Dugan getting lucky. For Matthew Weeks, a rude awakening in his first race back in a month here. And it looks like that damage can be fixed, of course, as he goes down to pit road, gets the fast repair. But even still, 47 to go here, and drivers having to rely on a fast repair. Not the best thing to see. Dugan, Chandler, Marrow, Balderas, 1, 2, 3, 4, off of pit road. With time to spare, we're going to bring you some non-stop coverage here live on FTN, brought to you by our friends at Whiplash SimCams. We'll talk to you about more, of course, of our brand new announcement and partnership with Pitstop TV, but we'll bring you some non-stop coverage thanking our associates and partners here on the channel. We'll return right after this. You're watching coverage of the Enchanted Oaks 210, and we won't miss a thing under green.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Back to the green flag action for our second restart of the day. Alex Anderson gets the nod to lead things, and that's by virtue of staying out on the track. Although it looks like Anderson has himself 3 pit stops so far, he also has himself a little bit of a different strategy cycle. We'll see whether or not it works this time by. Green flag, and to get things going once again, Alex Anderson with the jump. Here we go. A little bit of a stack up on the outside, but Anderson gets away. 3 wide now, racing down the back straightaway. Henry Kaloff gets inside the top 5. You'll see guys like Chase Schaefer stuffed down 4. Marrow, Balderas right in the middle with each other. Can this work out? Coming across the line, it looks like we will survive at least 1 lap, but I don't know if this is going to work out for the long term. Here we go again. Anderson still in control here, and it looks like the number 66 just barely has himself out in front. Contact, that's going to be once again Joseph Miller. Miller setting himself up and down the circuit, somehow saves it, and so does the 22 of Cole Wilson. Miller into Dugan, goes up the track, drifts up to Thurston. They're locked into each other side by side. Miller again, but there's contact in front. Hunsicker, Balderas, Narrow, the big one in Charlotte. Nasty hit for the 00. They're still wrecking. About 15 seconds after the caution calls, Weeks into Hunsicker again. Horrible hits all throughout. Take it back all the way and you'll see exactly what happened here. Now this one started in multiple places all at once, which is what makes it so tricky to follow, but we'll break it down step by step because multiple incidents with all that chaos. Joseph Miller was up and down the track to begin with, and it's a wonder he stayed on track straight that long. But for Hunsicker, it was a battle as he went up to the high side to try to pass Alex Anderson. He skated up top, made contact with Anderson, came down to Cameron Chandler, missed Chandler, then hit River Page and Cody Webster. At this point, Wilson gets hit, Alexander Balderas gets hit, so does Gino Marrow, and the contact just piles up as the 00 continues to run down the track. Jackson Van Pelt, James Bowden also get involved. Page again. Matthew Weeks gets hit. Tyler Sevier, and huge contact. Weeks gets turned down the track. Mike Hill gets very lucky there. And major issues. 41 laps to go. Not what we'd like to see at all, but now many drivers come back down a pit road. Henry Kaloff is not one of them. Kaloff now appears to be rather confident in where he's got himself. The 63 currently runs to the point. He's got the race lead, and then it'll be Alex Anderson remaining in second after that incident. You got Cameron Chandler, who's going to be in third. Chase Schaefer scored fourth, and through it all, it looks like even still, Jordan Kuntz will come out in the 4th position. This is our 3rd caution of the day, but perhaps the most inevitable, shall we say. The issues and the incidents are starting to accumulate and pile up continuously. Right now, the number 41 is Schaefer, one of those who got very lucky here. 18th to 4th, up 14 spots on the day. And with time still to spare, he's made big moves, but there's still a lot left on the table. One lap to green, Henry Kaloff, your leader, and up top, Alex Anderson. Anderson is very lucky in his own right. We mentioned that, of course, he was right in the mist as it all went down. He was directly scraped on his right side. But it was just enough contact where it ended up reflecting other drivers off of him rather than taking him with it. That's the type of contact you can afford to have in a race like this. We'll have 39 laps to go when we go green. It looks like Jackson Van Pelt going to retire after that incident, leaving us now with 28 drivers on the lead lap. The field is led by the 63 and the 66. Restart number 3, it's in order. You'll have Chase Schaefer and Cameron Chandler just behind. Let's see what they can do as well. Green flag's out once more. Henry Kaloff grabs a gear, gets the advantage. Schaefer wiggles high, looks a little bit cleaner than last time. We should be good to go. And a significantly different structure on this restart, which we like to see. Looks like everyone going to keep each other nice and collected rather than going for that aggressive jump. We saw many a 3 wide, even a 4 wide on the last restart, and now the battle for the lead goes on. Looks like James Thurston here, that number 96, trying to make his way back up, although he's got scars on the left side of his car here. Is it enough damage to take him out of the race-winning running? Not quite sure yet, but in the meanwhile, it's Henry Kaloff now and Cameron Chandler. Cameron takes it down to the bottom groove and then goes high. With that said, it looks like now Henry Kaloff has the perfect opportunity to go back on him as long as he gets in line, tucks in, and conserves that momentum. Here goes the 99 up top. That's Jordan Kuntz, 5th to 3rd. Here comes the 99 looking for his first win of the season. And with that comes Chase Schaefer. Schaefer and Kuntz now going to try to pass Henry Kaloff both at once here. Not going to be the easiest of jobs, but they both get it done. Cameron Chandler now going to have himself about a quarter of a second, but that's not nearly enough to guarantee anything. With some drivers going down a pit road, it looks like maybe some nights on pit road have come to a close, but looking at the stint times for some of these drivers, well, the data will show you most guys have been on for more than 5 laps, and that means that they're going to have to wait until they go down a pit road once again to finish it off. 35, 36 laps is about the most we've seen of anyone so far today, so if you're on a stint longer than 3 or 4 laps, it's very unlikely that you make it to the end of the race without having another pit stop. So Cameron Chandler and company have to understand that before the race is over. Matt Grab now coming up on Henry Kaloff, and this is the battle for P4. Grab goes up high, and it looks like Mac has proven again that he is no fluke at these intermediates. This is a battle just outside of the podium, and it looks like for now, advantage Mac in the 53. Henry Kaloff falls just a little bit further behind and finds himself once again in the top 5. With James Thurston coming up quick, we might see a bit of a problem here as the Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport machine gets a chance up high. I don't know if Thurston's got the stuff to go out there and outright beat the drivers ahead of him any longer. If he had the track position, good enough track position anyway, I think he'd have a real chance to stay up there. But at the same time, it's not about what you don't have anyway, as we talk about speculating. It's about what's realistic. And in this circumstance, it's realistic to say that while Thurston is quick, he is not the fastest any longer, and that's going to play to his disadvantage as he's now more than a second back on leader Cameron Chandler with 33 laps to go. Chandler, Kuntz, Schaefer, the 1, 2, 3 up in front. Schaefer's keeping Jordan Kuntz very honest here. Take a ride on board now with this number 41. Take a look at that driver telemetry as well. It should tell you a different story than what we've seen before. Maximizing that on-throttle time. That's the emphasis right now for the number 41 crew and, of course, for the 99 of Jordan Kuntz. Trying to get everything you can out of the car here with 31 laps to go, knowing that we're going to have 2 short stints. This is the first of them, and whatever's left of this race will be the second. So to be opportunistic now, of course, it makes sense. There's so little time left on the table, and it's even less when you account for that split in stint that right now aggression will help. And if a driver can be the best aggressive driver they can possibly be, as in they put together the speed, they've got the power to keep things moving, then of course, there's a real good opportunity for a victory, a podium, or a top 5, so long as we don't see those aggressive mistakes. Coming out with under 30 laps to go, 112 laps in, 29 laps left. Matt Grab is also going to put himself in the picture, and notably, Thurston is also gaining. So we did say the 96 might have some troubles, but it doesn't look like that's going to stop him from bowing out. He's gone from just about a second and a half away to within 1 second. All the while, you're going to see Matt Grab has gone from a total now of, well, you see it here, 3/4 of a second off to less than half a second off. Chase Schaefer, we saw there in a little bit of a mix of it. He's been about 2/10 off for the better part of 4 laps, so not a lot of changes there. Grab has gotten in quickly, and Thurston would like to come in next. It looks like we might have ourselves 5 drivers battling for the race lead. And here comes Schaefer making the first big move. He'll decide to take himself down on Kuntz, and he's going to make that decision quick. Nothing comes of it so far, but definitely throwing his hat in the ring and showing that he has what it takes to pass anyway, and will go for an aggressive maneuver if necessary. And it looks like there's one of them. Kuntz sent right into turn 3, drifting ever so slightly, but that gives him a shot for the race lead. Cameron Chandler comes up to the ceiling. He just gets away. Now drivers ripping the high groove, not by choice, but just by virtue of all that aggressive nature. Up top, there goes Schaefer again, and now Jordan Kuntz makes it all the way down to the bottom. Thurston's got himself a good view. Ever so slightly is this number 96 closing in, knowing what's at stake. This could be his 5th consecutive race win, and talk about a gain into turn 3. Thurston is in the fight for the win. 5 drivers, 25 laps to go this time by. With a minor break in the action, we'd like to announce our brand new camera partner live on FTN, courtesy of our friends at Pit Stop TV. Whiplash SimCams is officially joining FTN for the foreseeable future to partner for our car and track cameras, both the onboards and what you see on the circuit right now. We'd like to thank our friends, of course, at Whiplash SimCams for making this partnership possible for all of our leagues and bringing the next level of high quality broadcast level cameras. You might know some of the broadcasters who use Whiplash SimCams, such as P1 Broadcasting or Pit Stop TV themselves, and there's a reason why so many of our friends of the broadcasting game have gone over to Whiplash and have made that decision. In 2025, we have as well. And so, now with the race on the line and such a fight continuing, Thurston up to 4th, we're going to bring you our first all-new Crank It Up, courtesy of our friends this time by of Whiplash SimCams. With 22 laps to go, we're going to go live and unfiltered once again. We're still expecting one more pit stop, so we'll follow these guys down and in when they decide to go, but it's no guarantee when they make the move. Schaefer, Chandler, fighting for a $30 victory. Of course, money on the line and those bragging rights as well. And throwback night, the first time you come back to old Charlotte, it's a fight for the win. And there's, of course, a paycheck at stake. 22 laps to go, we're going to crank it up with our friends at Whiplash SimCams. Caution's out, Crank It Up postponed. It looks like the yellow flies now with 21 laps to go, and we got an incident on the circuit. Let's see what's going on, and we're going to take a look at that replay now as drivers having trouble. Yellow flags out, and a big issue for Kenneth Gorell. Is he involved in this one? It looks like no. Nevertheless, the caution does fly here. Third of the day. Chris Tripp having some damage. We're going to take a look back. And it looks like, yes, the number 9, you have Tripp involved. Here's the instant replay on your most recent wreck, your 4th caution tonight. Tripp finding himself there in that number 90. Looks like he was battling against Ryan Nowicki at the time of incident here. Ryan finding himself down low, Chris up top. And so, at the moment of impact, this is what happened. Big contact and involved multiple other drivers, Joseph Miller, and there's the number 8 of Carter Casey. So it started far ahead of what we're seeing here. Here's another replay giving you an extra angle from the beginning of the incident as we see it. Alexander Balderas and Carter Casey, looks like they got caught up in the thick of the action. Casey in the 8 here coming up. And it looks like contact from Balderas. Then Casey comes up the track. He was trying to make it to pit road. Hunsicker involved. Joseph Miller, Henry Kaloff, and also the 90 of Chris Tripp. Balderas. Looks like a little bit of that front end contact he gave out causes a big chain reaction. Cautions out again, 20 laps to go. Drivers get locked in once again. And the field returns to pacing. Looks like now with that opportunity to come down to pit road, most of the driver have done so. Thurston Chandler still in the mix, as is, of course, Jordan Kuntz. And Cody Webster now is scored as your official race leader with 1 lap to green. With 18 laps to go, we'll restack them, re-rack them, and crank it up once again. Brought to you once more by Whiplash SimCam. The opportunity tonight, of course, to bring forth our very first brand new package of cameras to you. That caution, of course, we were going to have to crank it up with 22 to go. Interrupted it, and now we have a chance to re-roll it once more. The field returns, 18 laps remain to settle the score, so let's crank it up now with time to spare. Green flags out, live and unfiltered from Charlotte. Cody Webster destroyed on that note. Yellow flag again. And it looks like we tried once more. Didn't quite get through. Caution is out. Schaefer leads. Cody Webster involved big time. And now that car is shaking just coming down the back straight. Horrible damage. And he got hooked up there. Contact from Matt Grab. That sent him down the circuit. Made contact with Chris Tripp and Ryan Nowicki. And then Matthew White. That sent Tripp up the circuit. James Bowden nearly hit it. Big wreck for your 5th yellow today. So now when we go green, we'll have less than 15 laps to go. Webster, as you see there, he is on pit road. All the while, focus back on your race leaders. Schaefer and Kuntz, they're now back up front. Jordan Kuntz, of course, going to find himself right there in the 99. And that number 41 of Chase Schaefer having some internet troubles, it appears. The rest of the field is locked in for this run again. Webster making the call to stay up in front there. Looked like it was a two-tire strategy, and it's going to backfire badly now with that significant damage. Schaefer, I think his internet troubles are really getting to him here. He was leading just a moment ago. Don't see him on the track any longer. Oh, there he is again. Connection issue so late for this number 99, of course, for Schaefer anyway. Could give Kuntz a real shot at the win. Not a guarantee just yet, but Schaefer has been an incredible competitor tonight. It looks like now that chance might be fading away. Hoping he doesn't disconnect, but you can see he's blipping in and out. Chase Schaefer right now back on the circuit for just a brief moment. 15 laps to go. Should be just fine coming back in. Now luckily iRacing not taking care of him. The next season update going to give us a big problem. And that of course is going to be a connection flag. Meaning that drivers might be automatically disconnected by the server from racing. They can stay in the session, but they will be, in essence, taken out of participation until their network improves. Double file, 13 laps to go. It's time for Chase Schaefer to get things going again, lighting up the field in that 41. Thurston looks like he's recovered just enough to have a real opportunity at his 5th consecutive win. Kuntz and Schaefer looking for their first SNT wins of the year. Cameron Chandler still looking for that first career win. Then you got Kaloff, Tigner, Marrow, Cole Wilson, all still in the top 10. We got 19 left on the lead lap here, and still more than 20 on track. Green flag's out again. Schaefer with a nice jump. 13 laps remain. With all the time left to repair that car, it looks like Thurston once again has a real opportunity to have himself a race win. The 96 now right behind Chase Schaefer, and with 12 laps to go, it's always been no holds barred between these two drivers. Many a time we've seen them go side by side, racing for a race victory, trying to find the course top spot and the checkered flag at end of day, and a lot of the time it's ended in an incident or close. So to have these two drivers once again up in front is a real tricky place to be in, especially given the fact that now there's only 11 laps to go once we come across the stripe. Cameron Chandler is still just within reach of Thurston, and he's been so close all season long to finding that podium. It still hasn't come through. Last 2 weeks in a row, Chandler has been second place to Thurston, hasn't been able to make that way up and in front to break through. The 96 has been his brick wall, and so far he has not been able to smash it. Again tonight, Chandler is behind. I don't see any signs of him gaining just yet, but for Thurston, it looks like he has just enough in him, just enough pace to give Schaefer a real worry. 10 laps remaining. It is Schaefer and Thurston one more time. Vinny Tigner fights Henry Kaloff now. Henry gets up to the high side. It looks like Vinny now is going to have himself low for P4. If Tigner, of course, were to make it through here, he would be riding for 3 consecutive podiums if, of course, he gets up in the top 3 today. But, of course, he has to first get by 4th place, and Kaloff not making it easy, but Cole Wilson also coming through. Wilson looking for a top 5 here. All the while, Thurston has gotten slightly closer. 9 laps to go. The gaps are negligible now. He's been on the back bumper. What does it take to slide in and make a difference? Tigner blocking Cal off big further on back. But here James Thurston is, and he is really right on the tail, still looking for a room. Using all that on throttle time, it looks like Schaefer, especially into turn 3, perhaps letting off just a little bit earlier, and that gives Thurston the opportunity to gain a little bit of time. It's a small difference and a small advantage, but it could be used. 7 laps to go. Thurston is still within 2/10 here. Chase Schaefer trying to burn all that steam off just to get all the power through and give himself an advantage. How hard are they pulling now? I gotta wonder. Last time by, 30.4 and 30.5 respectively for the two drivers who are leading. Cameron Chandler that time through a little bit quicker than Thurston, not faster than Chase Schaefer, and Schaefer again at the line proves to be quickest, 30.66 compared to a 30.72 with 6 laps remaining. Every moment and every second matters. Right now, looks like River Page is trying to fend off for the 7th spot. He might be able to gain more if he gets by Henry Kaloff and, of course, the 82 of Aiden Donahue. But Donahue sees the 2 wide behind him, and he's gotten away from it. So the 82's got a real big edge that might play out the rest of the race. Last driver of the top 10 is Matthew Weeks here at number 11. Matthew is very close now to maybe making himself in the single digits as Page falls back to P9 once again. Now Chase Schaefer is gapping the rest of the field. 5 laps to go. He's built up 4/10. Is this permanent? Is it enough? Putting all that power in these last few laps, Chase Schaefer is now far and away and leaves Thurston in the dust. 4 laps to go. The biggest gap we've seen the 41 hold all night long. Schaefer sees the yellow flag fall. We're going to overtime. Caution. Anderson perhaps involved. Here's a replay. 2-lap shootout in Charlotte. This race is going the full distance and then some. And what happened as we take a look here, 66 goes down and in, comes a little bit further up the track, and there's contact there from River Page. Page then finds himself up high. Carter Casey hits Alex Anderson, and it starts with Casey and Page here. Looking at River, River was fighting there, of course, with Matthew Weeks. We saw the 64 struggling and falling just a little bit further back. And then contact. Weeks sending the 64 up the circuit. Page tries to lock it down, but as he does so, he turns down, hits Carter Casey, and that's where the incident begins. Yellow flag, we're going to overtime. All drivers now ready for the last stand. With a 2-lap shootout in mind, the rules are pretty simple. Here in SNT competition, we only have that one and only opportunity to extend the race, go beyond our expected race distance, which means that it's 1 yellow flag, and if the yellow flag were to come out again by any points, then the race would conclude. Timing and scoring loops would determine. That's it. However, if we get to the white flag, the race would be official no matter what happens. Same rules as NASCAR overtime, except we do not have infinite attempts. Instead, we've got 1 and only 1. And the race will be extended by 1 lap for this green-white checkered finish. Chase Schaefer, James Thurston. Rivals on Thursday nights coming down tonight fighting for a $30 prize. Thurston off the back of 4 consecutive race wins. Schaefer looking for his first win in SNT in his first start this year. Cameron Chandler, Vinny Tigner, both riding 2 consecutive podiums, waiting in the wings. One's gotta give, both for victory and for the podium. Green flag one more time, and with 2 laps to go, Schaefer gets the jump. Cameron Chandler coming up with the 99 just further back. Meanwhile, it's Schaefer and Chandler, P1 and P2. Thurston now going to have to rattle off that back straightaway if he wants any opportunity to get that race win, but Schaefer with such a great jump off the immediate start, it looks like that could be said and done. $30 on the line tonight, and for Chase, that Monster Designs machine wants the victory more than anything else. 1 lap to go. Thurston won't give up though, trying to make it by Cameron Chandler, and putting together a run through 1 and 2 would be the last hope. The 96 now sailing through the top side to try to build up that momentum. All the while, Schaefer gets away. It's his first start this year in SNT action. He's one of the best drivers in intermediate racing with this Xfinity car. And it's no wonder why tonight the number 41 comes across the line. Race winner in Charlotte. Chase Schaefer wins throwback night in SNT and comes home $30 richer. Schaefer with the checkered flag, his first of the season. "19 laps led, 18th to first, the hard charger, and the race winner, all at once." Alexander Balderas comes by to congratulate, and Schaefer now will begin his celebration. Chase Schaefer gets the job done tonight in Charlotte. Race results go as follows. The number 99 gets the race win, of course, as we see him on Thursday nights. But tonight, he decides to show up in the 41, and it pays off big. Cameron Chandler second over James Thurston in third, and Vinny Tigner finishes P4 on the day. Aiden Donahue in his debut finishes then in fifth. You'll have sixth in Cole Wilson, seventh in Gino Merrill, P8 in Henry Kaloff, and Matthew Weeks, P9. It'll be Matt Grab to round out the top 10, 11th place, then going to Tyler Sevier and Jordan Kuntz, 12th. Matthew White goes P13 with Seth Morrison 14th and Jamie McKinney 15th. Alex Anderson P16 and Brandon Dugan in 17th. Braden Hunsicker 18th. James Bowden 19th and Alexander Balderas in 20th. Mike Hill 21st. River Page 22nd, Carter Casey 24th, as it says there, but it will be Kenneth Gorell in truth, P24 on the day. Then Ryan Nowicki, Elijah Hoy, Cody Webster, Chris Tripp, Joseph Miller, Michael Deitch, Jackson Van Pelt, Landon Benson, and Brody Webster finish off tonight's lineup from start to finish. And our finishing order sees the number 41 of Chase Schaefer get the job done. Most often we know him as the driver, the number 99, but tonight, different look, different number, and he made things work out as he comes through and gets the job done. Chase's first win in S&T action this year, and he comes away with some prize money at that. We'll speak to the man that got the job done right about now, Chase Schaefer, welcoming yourself back to SNT with a big race victory. How's it feel?
It's pretty cool. I haven't been racing a whole lot as of late, so I was really getting the itch to get back to racing, and I guess that's a good way to start it.
And your first S&T entry of the year, so you didn't qualify all too well there with 18, but when it comes to the race pace, you made your moves up to the top 5. You stayed there, and you kept it honest until the very end.
Yeah, it was definitely. I like these tracks where you kind of have to figure out the tire wear. I mean, Iowa, I wasn't really able to figure it out in IORA last season, but this was a lot of fun, just trying to figure out what was the method. You know, I knew it was going to be like a lot of brake. And so once I figured that out, it was pretty fun getting to figure it out, just mashing the pedal going into the corner. But yeah.
And, of course, the battle to the very end, you, Thurston, and the company up in front. Big race, big field. 33 drivers here in Charlotte, and Legacy Charlotte at that. Were there any big differences for how you approach this track compared to the newer pavement?
Yeah, it definitely races a little different. I think it was more so like once you got used to the tire wear, it started to feel a bit more similar. But 3 and 4 doesn't feel as long per se. 1 and 2 definitely, that feels like it's a little bit more narrow and like the lines you can run. But apart from that, a lot of it's pretty similar. I enjoyed that. I thought this race was really fun. But yeah, it was fun being able to do a different card track combo. No one really does Legacy Charlotte, so it's definitely a little different.
And bringing back Legacy Charlotte, of course, not a track we see all too often, and we're going to a few tracks up next that we don't see all too much. So to kick off your season, of course, with the win, maybe up next at Lucas Oil, you got a shot to go back-to-back. How do you feel about entering a few more races as the season goes down the line?
We might do it. It's Saturday night, so we'll see what we're doing. But the Lucas Oil does sound like a lot of fun. I don't think I've ever done a proper race there. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Well, Chase Schaefer, great to have you back on the track here tonight, winning at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Any final comments or shout-outs you'd like to give?
Nope. Follow Monster Designs on Twitter and Instagram. That's all I got.
And there we have it. Chase Schaefer, P1 on the day here in the Enchanted Oaks 210. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
And for the first time in his career, the number 88 of Cameron Chandler outfinishes James Thurston. But the unfortunate part is that for the first time all season long for Cameron, that doesn't guarantee a win. Second place again, Cameron. 25 laps led. It's your third consecutive runner-up finish. I think it's getting a little tiring to have you back here again and again.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo Squad brought a great piece here. God, I hate that we finally beat James, and then, of course, there's just one more guy that we couldn't get done. So.
And you're right about that. The first time where beating the 96 doesn't guarantee you a victory, which we haven't seen all too much of that. Nevertheless, you proved tonight you were on his level and just a little bit quicker at the end. It was a long one. The fighting for the race lead was intense, and it's Legacy Charlotte. We're back at the intermediate, so how was it for you adapting to the race length as well?
Yeah, definitely interesting. In practice, I think that's actually my first laps here in this combo. So, a lot different from the new Charlotte, surprisingly, and definitely a lot harder to pass. A lot different to find grip. So, that was something we definitely had to learn throughout the whole race.
And tire strategy also coming into play. We noticed that big time. Lap time is getting a lot slower. Cautions at the end as well. Was there anything that influenced exactly when you went down to pit road for your tire calls?
Honestly, not really. Never really does. We just, decide where we're running. If we're leading, we'll try to pit a little bit later. But that first stop, we stayed out. We were supposed to pit with Jackson and Braden, but I decided to go around one more time, and ended up actually being faster than most of them. So a lot faster than what I would have thought. So the overcut was a lot better, it seemed like, but I don't know what pit stop it was, but eventually we got a nice little undercut, and thankfully a caution came out because we were gonna get eaten up there. And that undercut really is what put us in this position. We gained a ton of track position, and I think the last time we pitted, we just hardly got beat out the pits, and that's what cost us the win here, I think.
With that said, so close to the victory tonight, but another runner-up finish, keeping you in the thick of the championship battle and out-finishing your rival in Thurston. With that said, next week, Lucas Oil, we're going back to the short tracks. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that track, I don't think we're gonna have any speed there. We came there in a different league, and I ended up just getting out the car and parking it because we were that terrible. So definitely a lot of testing and practice that we're gonna have to put in for that one, and hopefully we can improve from what we are now.
Cameron Chandler, second place on today, 25 laps led. Any final comments you'd like to give? The floor is yours.
Once again, thanks to all the Team Sevy guys. Definitely a huge help every race, and looking forward to the next one.
Beating James Thurston and coming away on the podium once again, Cameron, thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Bringing the 88 back on the way, of course, out of the broadcast booth. One more driver to speak to who led 39 laps today, and worst finish of the season, third place. James Thurston, tonight was a hard-fought battle for the victory and the podium. You saw a few incidents along the way, but still managed to take home a top three.
Yeah, I guess really I'm lucky to be here because there was a couple of moments there when I was back in the pack that should have taken me completely out of the race. So, yeah, I got a little bit of left side door damage. I don't know how much that slowed me on the run, like the long run, but yeah, we were fighting there, kept wrecking, and we'd eventually get that yellow that got us good on fuel, and I just had nothing for Chase. He was just lights out on me. Just yeah, we're just glad to bring it on third.
Taking
by
a P
0.02 of a second.
Right about that. Taking a P3 on the day, very close fight there. You mentioned those incidents that you were involved with. Quite a few more, perhaps, at the intermediates than we're used to, and a lot of them up front with so many drivers. So how was it for you navigating despite the damage?
Yeah, it's just these guys, they stay out on old tires thinking it's going to work out for some reason, and it never does. So that's why we're wrecking so much. But yes, that's just something you have to deal with everywhere. It's nothing that's going to get fixed unless you want to penalize people that stay out. But anyways, yeah, I don't know how much the damage slowed me down. I went in the pits and it said it was like 6 seconds. It felt fine on the long run before. I was catching Chase and whoever else was up there with them. But then they brought that yellow out, and the leader just can go as soon as the pace car pulls off, basically, and it's not a defined zone. So I mean, you just get a huge advantage when you're the leader. Yeah, both with the having clean air and just the restart in general, like you couldn't mount a charge against it. So just props to him for getting there, and just wish I could have been there.
And with that said, well, keeping the podium streak alive in your starts this season, and you're pretty much in a position now where the fight is for the regular season championship between you and Cameron Chandler. We're going to Lucas Oil Raceway next week, track we've never been to before in this league. How do you feel about taking this Xfinity package there?
Yeah, I think that should be a nice race. I don't know how far in the lead I am for the championship. It should be pretty good by now, but yeah, we'll go there and see what we have. I haven't really raced that track a whole lot. I've done it some, not a whole lot though. So we'll see how we really do, and yeah, we'll just see what happens. Just yep, thanks to Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports, and fun race. Made $10 tonight.
James Thurston on the way, of course. P3 with that $10 bonus. Any final comments you'd like to send out?
Yeah, just thanks to everybody putting the race on, the sponsor, the campgrounds. It's a real nice place, I'm sure. Maybe I'll get to visit there someday, and yeah, maybe we can have some more races like this in this league. It was a lot of fun tonight, seeing this huge turnout.
James Thurston and the 96 crew wrap up the podium here from Charlotte. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And with Thurston on the move, that's a word from all of your top 3 finishers tonight. James Thurston, 39 laps led on the day. He finished in P3, of course. Second place, 25 laps led in Cameron Chandler. And your race winner, the number 18 of Chase Schaefer, getting the job done for his first start and first victory on the campaign. With that said, that ends tonight's coverage, of course, of Saturday Night Thunder. We'll be back next week with our coverage from the Lucas Oil Raceway Park as our championship race comes very close. Regular season only has 3 more events from this point onward, and we kick off the final tour in Indiana. So stay with us as we go down to Indianapolis Raceway Park next Saturday at 7:45 Eastern, same time, same place. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching coverage from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. This has been the Enchanted Oaks 210 live with Saturday Night Thunder on FTN Broadcasting. Thank you again to Enchanted Oaks RV Park for their sponsorship of tonight's event, and congratulations to James Thurston, Cameron Chandler, and race winner Chase Schaefer on their podiums, of course, and the number 41's race victory. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We hope you have a fantastic day and hope to see you back for our next racing action. Thank you for tuning in live on FTN.